writes Unforgiven, amazing. He also writes 12 Monkeys with his wife. And another movie that has been mentioned on this podcast a couple of times, Leviathan. Awesome, like late 80s movie. Let's shout out David Peebles for Unforgiven and 12 Monkeys, both of which I consider masterpieces. So Fancher leaves December of 1980, though he does contribute to later rewrites, and I think he's still an executive producer on the film. He co-writes 2049 with Michael Green. And then Fancher's a bit upset that Peebles is brought on to rewrite the script, but then he later praises those changes that Peebles made, and the two of them actually became good friends.
When you going back to the animals being extinct, so in 2049, when Deckard has like his dog, does that mean that is that a real dog?
Oh, good question. It's been a while. Doesn't Gosling ask him that question?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, I know that Deckard asks him, "Hey, if you got a piece of cheese." I don't think that all the animals are extinct, but I think a lot of them are at that point in time. Okay. At least at the point in time of the original Blade Runner. Because obviously, like Zora says, if I can afford a real one, so that means like there are still animals around, but they're probably
not accessible.
Yeah, they're probably not accessible. They're probably a bit rare. Deckard even asked Rachel about the owl in the very beginning. And she says, it's not real. So I think that's something that the novel really touches on, is a lot of the environmental issues, and a lot of the animals are extinct at that point in time.
I mean, even when this original movie opens up and it's just like you're getting to see like Los Angeles, and it's just the sky is filled with pollution, and it looks
pollution. There's the big like smokestacks that are like spewing flames. It's like real industrial.
Yes.
Special effects, by the way, are incredible in this film. For the time that this movie came out, they're incredible. When that spinner first flies past the camera in the opening shot.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks great. It's got that like kind of light halo effect around it. Amazing. We should shout out, I know that we shouted him out a few months ago after he passed away, Douglas Trumbull, who did the special effects for the film. Also did special effects for Star Wars, for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, for 2001. Like, the pillars of sci-fi, this guy was a part of all of them.
Again, another incredible portfolio.
Yeah, insane. And then, Ridley Scott hooks up with conceptual artist Sid Mead to kind of draw this what does the futuristic Los Angeles look like? That was 40 years? Almost 40 years ahead of when Blade Runner was made. Yeah, because it's the 40th anniversary now. So, they're gearing up to do this movie in the early 80s. So it's, 38, 39 years in the future. And they're looking to kind of create what does the future look like. And then, they hook up and they come up with these inspirations. Scott says he kind of used like his home in Northeast England. That real industrial look. Hong Kong, obviously. They even looked at Fritz Lang's Metropolis to kind of get that idea. And then we shouted out Doug Trumbull, but also like production designer by Lawrence Paul, and the art director David Snyder. Like, they're incredible. The look of the film is amazing.
It is. Even the small details, like when Zora gets into the shower and it's like this weird ass looking shower. You have to think about like all of those little details were built for like a couple seconds in the movie, but they all add to this super authentic feeling, futuristic dystopian feel. Or even when go ahead.
I was going to say Deckard's apartment almost looks kind of Egyptian-like.
Yeah.
You know, like the walls and everything.
Yeah, it's like almost like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
You get to see how these people are living, and it's like this super cramped, weird space, and you know, and the way that they play with the lighting and everything, it just makes Deckard feel like has no one and just is super lonely the entire time. And
yeah,
and he has like this chip on his shoulder for the first act of the film until he meets Rachel, and kind of, you know, his attraction to her kind of has him start questioning like his thoughts towards replicants in general. What do you think about that weird love scene between Deckard and Rachel?
Where he stops her from leaving?
Yeah, and it's kind of like a little aggressive.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I don't think I really noticed that until I got older. And I was like, oh, like he's being kind of aggressive. Like she's trying to leave, and he's like, you know, blocking the door and like kind of forcing her to kiss him.
Where he's like, "Tell me you want me." Like, all right, kind of creepy.
You know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen Wild at Heart?
Yes.
So like we're talking the David Lynch stuff. And it reminds me of that scene where Willem Dafoe is talking to Laura Dern.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, say fuck me. And it kind of reminded me of that. But I was like, oh, it's like a super creepy thing. He's, you know, telling her like what he wants to hear, basically.
It's funny because I had told Vic or Atlas the other day that we're going to do this, and he's a big Blade Runner fan, both of them.
Yeah.
And he had brought that up, that he was watching the final cut the other night with his lady friend, and she got super offended with that scene. She had never seen the movie, for context. And he was like, oh, you know, you have a point, but I've always thought about it that it's because he's trying to get her to like show her humanity or integrate her into, you know, something that's purely instinctual, I guess, like in being intimate. And I mean, yeah, I can get that perspective, but just the way that they shot it and how Deckard is, it just, I don't know, man. It just that part hasn't aged very well.
I agree. It is, like I said, it's been so long since I've seen the theatrical cut. Is that scene even in the theatrical cut? I don't remember. I
don't remember either.
But yeah, it is creepy and a little off-putting. I hope Vic listens to the show and likes it.
He's definitely gonna. I would be shocked if he didn't listen to this one. He wanted to be on, but I think he had to. He has work, so shout out to Vic for everything.
Well, I know that was something I mentioned to him years ago. When he and I ran into each other, I think that was like one of your screenings.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that he was a big fan, and I was like, yo, we should do Blade Runner someday, because that's like one of my favorite films. So too bad he didn't get a chance to be on it. I do hope he listens and he enjoys it. I hope you dig it, Vic.
Have you watched this on the big screen? And if so, which cut was it?
Oh man, like that's a good one, because I've, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I have seen this, I believe, more times in the theater than I've seen at home.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I've seen all three cuts in the theater. I've seen the theatrical, I've seen the directors, and then the final cut in the theaters. The last one that I saw in the theater was the final cut. Remember, I think we were talking last show about one of the first episodes you guys ever did was just kind of talking Ridley Scott movies. I think it was because Alien Covenant had come out.
Yeah. Yes.
And you and Dennis And I think James might have been on that show too.
Yeah, it was 3 of us.
You guys were talking Ridley Scott movies. And Dennis like talked shit on Blade Runner.
Which, I mean...
And I got super offended because I had literally just watched it at the Ken like for one of their midnight shows. And I was like, that's one of my favorite fucking movies. I can't believe you would disrespect it. But that was the last one I saw at the Ken. Was the final cut. I've seen the director's cut numerous times in the theater, and oddly enough, I told you I had a funny story about watching the theatrical cut for the last time.
Yeah,
was in the Museum of Photographic Arts in Balboa Park. Used to have a film program. They used to show movies there like every Friday, Saturday night. And I saw like so many great ones, man. That was where I watched Sunset Boulevard for the first time. It's like I had seen Fight Club there. I had seen a double bill of Ed Wood and Plan 9 from Outer Space. I'd seen a double bill of Clerks and Office Space.
Oh, wow.
Like Casino, Taxi Driver. So many great movies that I had seen there. I think I even saw Some Like It Hot there for the first time. So, like, they used to have this incredible film program for years. And one night they were showing Blade Runner. So Joelle and I were headed down there. And we got there and they were just like, oh yeah, that's next week. For some reason, it had been like listed wrong in the newspaper back in the day when you would look in the newspaper to find out like the show times. They were having like some kind of like wine tasting thing down there. So they were closed to the public. So we were just kind of hanging around out front. One of the security guards noticed us, was like, oh, hey, what's up, guys? Kind of thinking like he was going to give us the boot, but he was just like, oh, yeah, you guys want like a glass of wine or something? And this is back when I used to drink, so we said, sure. So we were like out in front of this bougie fundraiser gala or something that they were having, like just the two of us, like standing out in front of the place, looking in, drinking. And then someone finally came out and like gave us the boot for real. Not one of the security guards, like one of the donors or one of the people running the show came out and gave us the boot. Anyways, so the next weekend we go down to watch Blade Runner. The film curator down there was a guy I really respected, liked talking to, really knew movies. Used to write for The Reader. I'd run into him at the Gas Lamp a lot because he was doing some screenings there, like during Comic-Con. I think he was screening Attack the Block one year. God, well, he was screening something else, and now I forget what it was. And I was like, dude, like, sorry, like, it's not, the print isn't in great shape. But he was like, oh, dude, who cares? Like, it's like a print of this movie, which is awesome. And I forget what movie it was. Shit. This was probably 12 years ago. Anyways, long rambling story to get to my point that I really respected this guy and his opinion. And we get down there to watch Blade Runner, Joelle and I. And he's like, oh, I want to screen the theatrical cut because I think it's superior to the director's cut, and here's why. And he says he likes the narration. He says it's more in line of film noir, the voiceover narration, and he liked the happy ending. So the last time I saw the theatrical cut, as much as it bums me out, was in the Museum of Photographic Arts, which is a beautiful theater. If you ever have a chance to go down there to see anything in that theater, whether it's a movie or a lecture or some kind of other program, check it out because that theater is beautiful. But we watched the theatrical cut down there with the narration because this guy, their film curator, really loved that version for some reason.
That's interesting because I've always felt like the whole gumshoe thing. It seems like they put that in there. It was like studio meddling where they didn't have the confidence in their audience where they thought that they needed to kind of walk us through what was happening, and it kind of strips it away you know, of its